If you're a big swim team and you like to order a lot of gear, maybe you ought to check out Swim Outlet Team Division for these reasons. Swim teams receive a 10% discount on bulk orders. Swim teams or organizations get an 8% commission on referred sales. You'll also like their customization services, which is affordable and available at all times during the year for all team gear. With over 50,000 items in stock, you can get most anything you want. Swim Outlet Team Division. You need to try it out. You'll be glad you did.
This is the Morning Swim Show for Thursday, August 15th, 2013. I'm your host, Jeff Cummings. Joining me on today's show in just a little bit in the Finis monitor will be Julia Wilkinson-Minks. She's one of our newest correspondents here at Swimming World, and she's just completed a 4-part series of articles looking deeper into what it takes for people to handle multiple swims in a session. This issue continues to be a hot topic of conversation after Ryan Lochte pulled off an amazing triple during the 6th night of finals at the World Championships earlier this month. Wilkinson-Minks, a 2-time Olympian for Canada and a Texas A&M Aggie, joins us now from Canada. Julia, it's good to see you again. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Always great to talk to you. So I really enjoyed reading your articles on swimmingworld.com, and as someone who has very rarely done doubles in a major meet on one night, I was just fascinated about your take on what it takes. Now, when you look at someone like Ryan Lochte or Missy Franklin or Michael Phelps back in his day, how much of what they were able to do in accomplishing doubles or triples, how much of that was talent and how much of that was careful training and preparation?
I definitely think it is a combination. You have to be a talented swimmer to be able to pull off that many events in an evening, 2 events the way Missy Franklin did it back-to-back at the Olympics, or 3 the way Ryan Lochte did just at Worlds, not very long ago, because you wouldn't be in that many events if you weren't talented. So I think the talent goes without saying, but a huge part of it is preparation as well. It is really, really difficult to do that many events in a row at that high of a level. It's, it blows my mind to see someone do it successfully, because I've had my share of very unsuccessful attempts at doing multiple events in a session. And so I think I have a pretty good appreciation for what it takes as someone who's, failed trying to do it. So it's huge. And that's why I wanted to delve deeper into what it takes physically and mentally leading up to and at the meet, because, we can sit back and we can be amazed by what they've done. But when you really take a step back and look at it, that's when you're like, wow, that's just incredible.
Yeah, I want to talk about one of those instances that you were saying you didn't do so successfully. I don't know why it just always sticks out to me when I hear your name or I see your name, I automatically think 2011 World Championships, 100 back semifinal, and then I think it was less than an hour later that 200 IM final.
It was 9 minutes, actually.
9 minutes. Oh my goodness! I don't know how you were able to get up on the blocks, but
we had known beforehand that it was going to be a really quick turnaround. What we didn't know is that it was like a labyrinth to get from the warm down pool to the competition pool and ready room. Like it's a serious walk to get through the mix zone, even if you don't talk to the members of the media. But that was probably my longest experience ever, just winding your way back to the warm down pool. So even though I'd prepared for it, we'd done mock trials at practice, and I'd also swum the 2 events back-to-back at Santa Clara, and it had gone fairly successfully. I remember Kathleen Hersey came up to me and she was like, man, you're a boss. I can't believe you did both of those. And I said, well, I'm trying to get ready for Worlds. And but at Worlds, since I didn't even get in the warm-down pool. I didn't have enough time. So I did band workout, some band stuff in a corridor after my 100 back. It didn't help that I didn't have a great 100 back and failed to make the final. So had I made the final, and felt excited about what I'd done, that probably would have made it easier. But I was just exhausted, and then I didn't go into the warm-down pool. And then I started throwing up in this hallway because all of my lactic acid was pooling in my body. And I just remember thinking, as with my head in this corner, thinking, this is the worst moment of my life. This is absolutely the worst moment of my life. And I, went to the ready room for the turned IM as late as I possibly could, as late as they'd let me. And it turned out being 9 minutes between getting out of the 100 back and going back into the ready room. And I was in lane 8 of the turned IM, and that was the first year they did the doors opening. And I walked out from my turn IM and they announced my name and I went like this to the camera. And my husband was watching. He said to himself, "Oh man, she's in trouble." He's like, because if she's, trying that hard to look confident, she's definitely in trouble. It started to hurt within 20 meters of the butterfly. My freestyle, I outsplit my freestyle on my backstroke. Like I came home in a 34 on my freestyle because I was just absolutely dead. And it was so embarrassing. I went 216. I came back and I was crying and I was sure I was going to get kicked out of the National Training Center because I just embarrassed, myself, my coach, and my country on like the highest possible level. And Randy came up to me and he said, "You know what, Julia? When I walked away from you and you were throwing up, I said to myself, it's going to be a miracle if that girl can go 216. So, I did what he'd hoped I would do. Obviously, it was a disaster, and it was a learning experience because then I knew not to do both at the Olympics. That was kind of why I pulled out of the turn I am at the Olympics, and a lot of people wondered, and I was like, well, remember that disaster I pulled in Shanghai? That's why. So, I couldn't handle it. So when I saw Missy Franklin do that amazing double last year, I was just blown away by her composure and how well she did in both of her events, and then again with Ryan Lochte.
Well, I want to go back to when you were throwing up in the hallway and you thought this is the worst moment of your life ever. This kind of talks about something that you were saying in part 4 of your article, that on the day you have to really believe that you could do this.
Yeah.
After that 100 back, were you walking, trying to get to that warm down pool, doing the band stuff? Was there a moment where you were saying, I could do this, and then
No.
I guess probably you threw up and said, I can't?
Yeah, I lost it. I lost it completely mentally. And I don't think that physically, I don't think there's any way I could have gone a best time in that moment, but I should have been better than I was. I think that and that's why I wrote about it, like you will crumble if you're not ready for it. And I was ready for the double, but I wasn't ready for, I guess, how close it was going to be and the pressure at that level. And so, looking back on it, I know I could have done a better job than I did. And I think I was so solid in 8th. So I think I was going to end up 8th no matter what happened. But yeah, I definitely lost it, in terms of thinking that I could be confident and I could step up and have a good 200 IM. It was just survival mode, basically, which is not what you're seeing out of the likes of Ryan Lochte or Missy Franklin or these people who are doing multiple events. And that's why that's why I pulled out, because if I knew I couldn't hack it mentally. And I think that, I had moments in my career where I was really strong, but then there was moments like that where I wasn't strong enough to do what needed to be done. So I think that from that, perspective, we really have to you can't just like look at what Ryan Lochte did and say, oh, well, this is the new standard. Like people really need to take a moment to be like, wow, like the fact that he was able to, especially on the relay, he's on the relay, he's buried, he's second. He could have kind of eased up a little bit, and he didn't. He had the second fastest split in the field. So that's just even more amazing for me.
Yeah, it is. And I think somebody like Ryan, who went through the NCAA college system, and Missy hasn't gone through it, but she's about to. I think college swimmers in the United States, have a leg up on the rest of the world because there are the dual meets where you can pretty much have to do that. You swim,
yeah.
I think most people do 3 events in a span of 2 hours. Then you go to the NCAAs where you've got those people who do those 200 freestyles. They do the 200 freestyle, and then about an hour later, they do that 800 free relay. I think those are like the toughest people in the building to be able to do that. So from your perspective at Texas A&M, did Steve Boltman kind of get the women's team ready for something like that?
Oh, 100%. Steve was always, I swam a lot of events in '08, and I did really well handling that many events at trials and at the Olympics because that was Steve's standard, and Steve just kept saying to me, oh, well, you got up on the blocks at NCAAs after this, and the other. And as you said, with the pressure in the NCAA, because you could look at it and think, oh, well, it's just a dual meet. It can't possibly be as much pressure as World Championships. But some of the most nervous I ever got was when we would swim Texas, because I knew how much that meant to the university for us to win. And I remember someone writing some article about this, like it was right after my redshirt year. And so Kathleen Hersey and I had yet to have like a 200 IM showdown. And there was all this hype about our showdown. And I was like so nervous before because I was like, oh my gosh, everything is riding on this. And it was just the two of us. And people would assume that's a much smaller stage than World Championships, but the way I interpreted it as an athlete, like, it was just as important. And so that is a huge advantage for swimmers that swim in the NCAA. Like, that's something that they can carry with them. And I think you see swimmers who've gone through the NCAA system more successful doing these, like, busy schedules. I actually scratched the final of the 200 back at Olympic trials in 2008, and Steve tried so hard not to let me scratch. But I was dead. It was my 5th event of the meet, and I was absolutely dead. And I said, Steve, I'm dead. Like, I can't do it. I'm done. I'm already on the team in 4 events. And he was like, you could do it if you weren't on the team yet. And I was like, yeah, but Steve, I am on the team. So can't you please just let me scratch? So let me scratch from that. But Steve held us to a different standard that, there was no tired. We were just tough. Like, you don't get tired. You just get tougher. So that taught me well, but obviously not quite well enough to survive my treacherous double.
Yeah, I think a lot of swimmers these days in the age group system all over the world, most likely, are really concentrating on this. I think they saw what people like Missy are doing, and I think coaches are trying to get their swimmers ready for that. And I think it speaks volumes about how that has impacted age group swimming, because a lot of these kids are looking at Missy and looking at Ryan and Michael and other people and saying, I want to be like them. But a coach realizes that you can't just wake up one morning and be able to handle stuff like that. So I think these kind of things are happening a lot more frequently than we know.
Yeah, and I also think it's kind of a product of, I think even Missy and Ryan are a product of not wanting to put all your eggs in one basket. Like, when you're young, you don't want to sort of specialize at a young age because, growth spurts. I went through a period where I was a breaststroker. So good thing I did not put all my eggs in that basket, because that never would have ended up very good. But, you never know what you're going to end up being down the road. So kids more and more aren't wanting to specialize, like Ryan Lochte and like Missy Franklin. I really wonder, when Missy was really young, was she thinking, I'm swimming all these events because I want to swim all these events at the Olympics? Or was it more, I want the best possible shot at making the Olympic team, so having as many events as possible? And then once you make all of those different events at the Olympics, you want to swim them all, because you don't know what your best shot is at winning a gold medal. And so this whole new thing is kind of a product of, I guess, our competitive nature and wanting to maximize our opportunities as athletes.
Yeah, I don't know if I can handle it. I think it's just my upbringing of being a breaststroker. We're so specific that it's impossible for us to be able to back it up with, a 100 back or a 200 free or something like that. So I guess in a way, being a breaststroker is a blessing and a curse.
Yes, because you don't have really a backup event, but at the same time, we're always cursing the breaststrokers because they don't have to be on the freestyle relays. So, they have a little bit of a easier road, but then you have to swim breaststroke every day, so I guess it makes up for it.
Yep, again, a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
Well, Julia, thanks for this trip down memory lane. I'm always surprised you're able to talk about the worst day of your life, because to me, I just can't imagine ever wanting to relive the thought of throwing up in a hallway in Shanghai, China, and thinking you've got to go out there in front of thousands of people and do a 200 IM when you don't want to do it.
Yeah, I think I try to laugh about it now because I can't undo it, so I might as well just live and learn. And I guess I never got to be a girl who won a medal at Worlds or the Olympics, but I got to be that girl that really, really struggled in the 200 IM at Worlds in 2011, and a lot of people remember that, so I guess it's my thing.
You're infamous for it, and I guess it's a story you can tell your kids and your grandkids.
Yes.
Well, Julia, thanks so much for joining us. I enjoyed reading the article, and we're looking forward to more from you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on.
All right, so that was Julia Wilkinson-Minks joining us on today's In for the Finis Monitor. Be sure to go to swimmingworld.com to read our 4-part series on handling multiple swims in a session. Coaches and swimmers alike will learn a lot. That's going to do it today for the Morning Swim Show. I'm Jeff Cummings. Thanks for watching.